Steve, Mike, Nick, Richard, and me.
One of the first things that I sort of thought was the most important was getting along. More than whether you could play bass or whether I could sing or whatever, is just that we were all on the same wavelength. It feels like we've been together forever, but it also feels like yesterday that we met. Like, you know, 30 years is forever, but I can remember those really early gigs like they were yesterday. Never had a plan B, but like for about 8 years we didn't have any songs that were good enough.
We were dreadful.
We were together just sort of in the hope that one day we would write some good songs. I had this pretty cool job for an 18-year-old. I had like a company car. I remember my dad went for the job interview. He said, "How did the job interview go?" And I went, "Got the car." When I left, he said, "Well, what's the deal? And you got record companies sniffing around, or what's happening?" And I said, "Well, it's just me and Eric at the moment. We're looking for a bass player, and then we're going to get a drummer, and then we're going to write some songs." So it was really early when I left the job. It wasn't like I waited until things were happening before I left the job. I just left the job because I wanted to make things happen,
I played guitar, so I was kind of like got the head start on that one a little bit, and I was kind of like in and out of like punk bands with my mates. At the same time I was into like hardcore punk and metal and stuff, I was getting into more sort of indie, bands and bands that kind of had more maybe ambition than my mates had. And who better to pull in than our Danny for that one. Danny's very driven, probably more than I am. I don't think I would be doing this now if it hadn't been for Danny being in the band.
How did the outro come about? The sort of the and the way it's sort of, because it's like.
It used to be that drum beat all the way.
Right.
Yeah, slow all the way through. Yeah. And then we kind of just took it for the end and kept it like a bottom sort of groove, you know. And then.
I feel like I want it to keep going now. It's almost like the sort of start of another song now.
Yeah.
There is a version, there's an extra bit as well.
Yeah, there is a version.
Oh, is there?
Yeah, there's a longer end.
Does that exist?
Yeah.
Yeah, we used to go all the way around the houses on an acoustic guitar.
TikTok walk like that. Oh, no. Don't like that one, not one of it.
So Ashes started off as, no, it was a song that you brought.
I got the chorus for it.
What was it called before Ashes then? What food stuff?
Oh, The Light Will Play or something. The Light
Something very serious.
Yeah.
It didn't start off as
one
like
of
a
my
little
ideas.
idea. It started off.
It wasn't a Ricky idea. It was
right, okay.
Something I got like while we were jamming, I think.
So yeah, so there was that. There was the original song, which was that not good enough, and then he brought another one, and it's like, nah, mate, sorry.
I was almost in tears that time.
And then maybe even another one, maybe even a third one.
I think it was like 4 or 5 verse attempts that weren't good enough.
And then I got the one that's actually on it when I was out mowing the lawn, listening to Paul McCartney CD that I'd sort of burned myself. And I just got a melody in my head, which kind of sounded a little bit like he's got the whole world in his hands.
Okay.
So,
great tune.
So then I went on played it on the piano, and it felt sort of big as I was playing it. And then I played it to you. You loved it, and then we got together.
We used to like cross each other in the studio. So like, Richard would use this studio actually, right in a different room. Richard would use it until like 3 in the afternoon, then I would use it till 6, then Rick would use it till 9, then I'd use it till midnight, then Rick would use it till 3 in the morning, and each time we'd go, you go out, and he'd be like, yeah, a couple of bits, and then on this day he went, I think I might have a verse for Ashes, and I'm like,
it's big talk, that.
Yeah, it's big talk.
Yeah, after you've knocked him back 3 times,
yeah,
you better
Well,
bring
yeah,
it then.
exactly. Yeah.
Be dropping bombs.
Better bring your fancy
but
trousers.
But when he
Rick,
played it, and it was like, na 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 na, and he did sort of have like he's got the whole world in his hands a little bit.
in a cheeky kind of way.
In a way that all sort of felt really fresh.
Ashes used to be different than the chorus, didn't it? The chorus used to go, and darling, each time I know you. It sounded fucking massive, yeah. And then,
but then all the band were like, not sure about this.
Mike wasn't sure, were he?
So I was like, I'm going to write the lyrics for it, and then no one can decide that it's not going to be a song. I've fucking written the lyrics, so that means it's a song.
Put the grind in,
Once the lyrics are written, that's it, yeah.
So I wrote the lyrics, and then it's about the death of a relationship and about sort of made it through the rain, the sort of Barry Manilow vibe, you know, I've come out the other side and find myself respected by the others who've been through that, you know, and sort of rising up like Lazarus from the ashes. But it is obviously a metaphor for, you know, what I thought we were doing with that album, and turned out to be pretty prophetic, because Out of Nothing went on to sell more than all of our other albums put together, and was like twice as big as our debut album. And most bands don't have that, you know. Most bands, their first album is the one, and we've somehow managed to dodge that. And I don't know if that's because we've never really written that one massive hit, you know, that everyone comes for, you know, the I Am the One and Only, I suppose it'd be the Chesney Hawkes one or whatever, or Come Back to What You Know might be the nearest we've ever come to that. And
I would say so.
I remember saying to Lemmy, you know, what's it like, you know, you've got the Ace of Spades, and he said, well, you know, you've got to come back to what you know. And I was like, oh my God, he knows one of our songs.
That's such a mad conversation, yeah.
And he said, you know, yeah, we've got to play it for the rest of our life, but at least it's a good one, Dan. You know, and how sweet is that he said that? Because he's not a fucking Embrace fan, but he was just sweet enough to say that, you know. And then, because Mike, our drummer's a massive Motorhead fan, I said to him, like, can I have your autograph for my drummer? Because he's just the biggest fan. He said, we're going to do it in blood, though. And I said, what, mine or yours? And he went, yours.
Would you like to show me around your magic room?
Yeah. This is my magic front room.
Oh, is this actually your front room? So, like, as in you live in there?
This is where I watch box sets and DVDs.
Yeah. What we got here?
Yeah, so we got like 4 photographs from our first show at the Peace Hall. Slightly out of skew, isn't it? It's a bit embarrassing.
That's okay, mate.
It's got you got the Danny's arms.
Yeah.
You got the expensive confetti cannons and fireworks.
The Danny Arms, is that like a Sounds like a pub, doesn't it? But it's not. That's your. Yeah. Have you got it like trademarked?
We actually, when we did one of our secret gigs, we had a little bar and we called it the Danny's Arms. So yeah, we've already done that. Yeah.
When you first started writing, how did it work? What were the dynamics?
We just used to jam, didn't we? Just used to plug in and play, and I just used to shout over the top and pretend to be Ian McCulloch.
Yeah.
That was pretty much it, wasn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. Just record everything, and then when we got with the band, we used to do it around at Mike's house. He'd have like a fake drum kit called an SPD, where it's got triggers on it.
Right.
And so we were all like plugged into his like little 4-track thing. So we're just on headphones, and we'd all just be going Wah! Trying to come up with the melody or whatever. And
all singing at the same time. And basically, if you didn't have headphones on, all you'd be able to hear would be. And I was like going, so it's poor neighbours next door and just a bit of hear us like screaming and banging, and that'd be it. Like, no.
I think they were always kind of aiming for something that was like maybe not what we naturally do. Like Retread's probably more what we naturally do, but we were aiming for like Good Peoples and One Big Families and songs which were bigger and more impressive and stuff. And it wasn't really until Mickey came along with like piano when suddenly it opened up a whole new batch of songs where it could just be that with strings and vocals and like maybe little guitar decorations and stuff.
Get all these real moments.
Yeah, 90% at job.
This is all the facts. This is the magic, though. This is what people want.
BTS.
Is this a working piano?
This is where the magic is.
Is it really? Yeah.
There's loads of songs we've written on that. I think. Yeah. Ashes were written on that, I think.
Oh.
Looking as You Are.
Oh, is that the one that used to be in the studio?
Yeah. All About With Nothing, been written on that.
Yeah.
Was there a particular song, a set of lyrics that you wrote that kind of were like, this is like really good, and you felt it could really move an audience?
It's Retread.
Yeah.
It is, like, that's the first ever song that I wrote on lyrics where I thought, that's good.
And the guitar on it is fantastic.
The guitar's kind of like Bernard Butler sort of influenced from You Do, I think it is, McCalmont and Butler.
Yeah.
Saw that on Jules Holland and that sort of blew our minds.
Yeah, that was great.
So would you ever write a guitar part and then you present that to Danny? Is that how?
More how we do it now, isn't it?
Very early doors, I would come up with ideas and then try and get Danny to sing to them, with sort of limited success, really. And kind of along the way, my sort of like the way I do things is I kind of just play them ambiently rather than presenting them, because then I know.
He sort of creeps it in. He pretends he's just coming up with it in that moment.
And I do sometimes just come up with it in the
moment. I'm like, Rick, what's that? What's that? Oh, this sort of thing.
Yeah.
You've got 8 cameras watching you.
Innit?
Do you listen to music during the period that you're writing?
When I'm writing lyrics, I do sometimes. I remember for All You Good People, I was like listening to the and he's going good, double good, and I was like, oh, you good people, and that's where that came from.
Really?
Literally just doubling up the good.
Wow.
He was saying that, and then that just came into my head, and that's how that was born.
Have songs got away because of that?
There was one song that when we had our big gap that I wrote, that I remember telling my manager and saying, I wrote a song last night that was like, it just sounded amazing, but I didn't even bother recording it because I just needed a break.
Yeah.
And I've always regretted that.
Yeah.
And he said to me straight away, he said, you're going to regret that. And I'm like, I do. But it was sort of a fireworksy, gravity style, but it was really big.
Teamwork, boys, good teamwork.
You wouldn't get Coldplay doing that, would you? Let's face it.
Removals. Quiet times.
Almost like
Just hit it soft, yeah.
up and get settled.
Just hit it really soft. I know that's against
that's
every...
a good shout,
And then they're just getting
We find out that he can actually hit them soft.
You're asking our drummer to hit it soft. He's got no fucking idea how to hit it soft.
Got a new record out, it's called Avalanche. Why is it called Avalanche?
They Just felt right. I've sort of discovered like just going with your gut and not overthinking it and being instinctive is the answer.
Yeah.
And it just felt right. Basically, the album is about all the little moments, because I've spent my whole life wondering what's over the next mountain. You know, get a #1 album. I'm not thinking, oh yeah, well done. I'm thinking, need to write another #1 album. You know. And you write a song, and I don't spend any time buying myself a bunch of flowers or patting myself on the back. I'm like, need to write another one now.
Right.
You know, I'm very driven, very.
Well, where's that come from?
Some fucking mental illness somewhere, mate. Like, you know, there's something lacking somewhere in me, because I need it. I need, you know, without it, I don't feel like I've got a purpose. You know.
Yeah.
I think it's everything. So what that means is I've spent my whole life not really engaging with life, but sort of thinking about what's going to happen next, rather than what's happening in the moment.
Yeah.
But having a wife and kids has really snapped me out of that big style. You know, I met my wife about 13 years ago. I've got a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old now, and they just really get you to live in the moment, because that's the only place they ever are.
Yeah.
And in the moment is where all these beautiful little things are, you know. I always remember I went travelling with my wife, and we went to this place in Asia that's sort of like their equivalent of the Grand Canyon, and we went there at sunset, and she said, we're going to go there, we're going to sit down, and you know, it's going to be amazing. And I got there and I looked at it and I went, wow, looks really good. Right, should we get something to eat? And she just sat down, and I was like, she's sitting down, weird, okay. And you know, 5 minutes later, she's still sat down. I'm like, you all right then? Should we get? She's just sit there, fuck down, like, you know. I'm not going until the sun sets, so you might as well, you know, sit down.
Yeah.
And so I thought, oh, okay. So I sat down, and I just sort of sat there. I'm like, waiting for something to happen, you know, already thinking about what's happening next. And then I just started like realising how beautiful it all looked. And the sort of the sunset, everything was changing colour. And then I became aware that I could smell the grass, and I just thought, wow, yeah. And I think that was the moment sort of happening for me for maybe the first time in my life, you know.
Yeah.
And there's so many of those little moments, and I've spent the last 30 years missing them because I've been too busy wondering what's going to happen next with Embrace.
Yeah.
And now that's all I see is those little moments.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I've been blind my whole life, and now somebody's suddenly given me some glasses, and now I can see finally what real life is about. And it's come at me like a fucking avalanche of ideas and thoughts, and I've never felt more inspired, and Avalanche is the only thing that encompasses it, because it's just been overwhelming, you know. It's been there's so much stuff I've got a fresh take on now. And yeah, you know, obviously we've written some songs that have really touched people and really moved people, and you know, we did those instinctively. I did the lyrics instinctively, but now I feel like I feel like I'm a lot nearer to that fire again.
Yeah.
And I feel like warmed by it rather than burnt by it. I'm up to speed again, and I feel like we're really on fire at the moment, and I want to capitalise on that as much as possible, and get another new album out really quick after this one.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I just wanted to sort of ask you, without sort of like trying to be intrusive, but I wanted to ask you about how you sort of like married that up with, you know, what you were doing with the songs, and did in some ways it help you with songwriting? Did songwriting help you with how you were feeling, and how tough was it to kind of manage that?
That's a deep question. I feel like Yeah, just give me a minute. Let me think about that. Yeah, so I feel like before I got ill, I was even further away from who I am than I became afterwards. Like, I was just, you know, a robot really, being what I thought I should be, rather than being in any way authentic or real. And there's nothing like having 15 panic attacks a day to sort of knock the front away from you. I like to take it as a nice silver lining that I got ill and found my voice.
Yeah.
But it might not be true, it might just be a coincidence, you know. I don't really like to believe that life works like that, you know, it's far more random and frightening than that. But that might be true, because it happened around the same time. Basically, I started getting better and we started writing fucking great songs, you know.
Yeah.
It's a bit weird. And stopping projecting someone else's voice and starting singing from the heart, if you like. I was able to do that as a result of the sort of trial by fire of being mentally ill for a few years. It really sort of broke through any semblance of defences that I had as a teenager, which wasn't very much, to be fair, and made me raw, you know.
Yeah. You know, we're of a similar age, and
yeah, you're a year older.
yeah, all right, okay, all right. But and you know, I suffered a few issues, and but didn't really speak about it. Didn't really, you know.
Well, you couldn't back then.
And that's what I ask you. I was going to sort of say, like, there were different times, weren't they? And did you feel like you could, you know, like talk to anyone about it?
No, I couldn't talk to anyone about it at all. Like, I was in a really bad state before my dad finally said we need to get him to a doctor. I was like screaming in the front room, and my little brother was around, and I think he was about 8 or 9 at the time, and it was scaring him. And my dad just said, look, I don't know what this is, but I can't do anything about this anymore. We need to get him to a doctor. And my mum carried me to the doctor, which, you know, I shouldn't be able to carry me now. Do you know what I mean? I got down to like 10 and a half stone or whatever, which, you know, I'm 6'2".
Yeah.
So
what age were you?
19,
okay.
something like that. And yeah, my mum carried me to the doctor, and the doctor back then, it was like 1989, 1998, said I had a phobia of evil, which I didn't, but just doctors didn't have a fucking clue about mental illness back then, at all, you know. So there was a mix-up over me going to see a psychiatrist, and I thought I was seeing him privately, and they thought we were going on the NHS, so I waited for 3 months. Before eventually going to see him privately, because we couldn't really afford. My mum said, because it was 40 quid an hour back then, which shows you how long ago it is. My mum said, if he can make you better in half an hour, can you ask her if we can just give him 20 quid? You know what I mean? That's how skint we were. And yeah, I went there, and the psychiatrist was amazing. He just sort of talked to me, he talked a lot of sense, but even he didn't have the name for it that they've got now. Like, I had pure O, which is a variation of OCD that means you sort of run and chase yourself with the worst thoughts imaginable all day, every day. And I was having sort of 15 panic attacks a day. I was only awake for about 8 hours because I was so exhausted. I'd nod off at like 8 o'clock. And then I'd wake up and I'd feel all right for like, 30 seconds, and then the thoughts would dawn on me again. I'd just be under a cloud the entire time. And then I went to see a psychiatrist, and that was the beginning of getting better. And it took about 2 or 3 years of seeing this guy every week. And he made me better, and I am better now.
Yeah. I suppose it's having someone kind of go when you're having, because I've had a lot of similar sort of thoughts about things, and couldn't talk to anyone about it because I
Yeah.
was like, I can't talk to people about this. I can't tell anyone about
Yeah,
it.
what are you going to say? I was always really worried that if I said anything, that I'd get locked up and they'd throw away the key and I'd never see my mum and dad again. So I daren't say anything.
Yeah.
You know, because I was worried I was going to hurt myself. I was worried I was going to hurt other people. At one time, I was absolutely convinced I was going to become a serial killer. I don't know how, but it's weird when you get so distressed and you're having so many panic attacks a day, your over a window of what makes sense moves really off the charts.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's the very last thing that I would be, you know, and that's why it bothered me so much, and that's why it works. You know, other people who have pure worry about sexual thoughts that they have, because that's the worst thing that they can imagine. But for me, it was just imagine being a serial killer, and you know how awful that would be, and what sort of thoughts they might have, and I was having the thoughts that I imagined a serial killer would have, which of course are nothing like the actual thoughts that a serial killer has. And I remember when the psychiatrist who saw me at his house, I thought, my God, I know where he lives. Does he know how dangerous I am? Do you know what I mean? And I think I said that to him when he answered the door. Because his wife and kids, I remember walking up the drive, and he had a big house, and his wife and kids were cooking meal in the window, and I remember just thinking, you know, there could be a bloodbath here, you know, like, he has no idea. And so when he opened the door, I was like, can't believe you see me for the first time where you actually live in your house, you know, you're not scared for like what I might do. And he just sort of giggled and said, I'm sure me and my wife and kids will be all right. Come on, Danny. And even just him sort of giggling sort of brought the over a window back into being a little bit. And he said so many things that made me feel like I was just a total textbook version of what I was, you know, even though they didn't have the name Puro for it back then. He sort of said, you know, 16-year-old mothers often will imagine throwing their child out the window and it terrifies them, and their thoughts start racing away. This sounds a lot like a male version of that. And I was like, oh my God. And then he said, because I said I used to avoid knives or, you know, plug sockets or anything that might cause harm. And he said, do you avoid a scarf draped over a chair? And I was like, a scarf draped over a chair? Like, what's that? And then he's like, oh, you're strangling people. And I was like, I'd never thought of that. But then I thought, he's seen people who are worse than me because they can't go past a scarf draped over a chair without having these thoughts, and they've got better. So there was just a lot of stuff like that. And I think, you know, what I would say to anybody who has difficulty with mental health is to just reach out. And, you know, I know there's massive long waiting lists and stuff. AI is really good at helping, you know, help diagnose, you know, and the internet is really good, like forums and stuff. But yeah, just getting to see a doctor's so difficult these days, and I really, you know, that was slightly easier back then, although the sort of stigma around mental health was a lot worse back then. The queues weren't as long as they are now, which I really feel for people on that.
I got to a point, you know, and similar, not the same, but I got to a point where my overthinking was becoming such a problem that, like you know, I wasn't present in the room. You know, I might be sitting there, you know, with my kids and my family, and you know, the squirrels in the loft. You know, these things are going on, and on the outside, I just looked like, you know, I was a bit bored or disinterested, and I would always go, I'm just a bit tired, and all the while I'm fighting these things in my head. But not able to go, look, can I have a chat with you about this? And because there were such weird thoughts, and then got to a point where, you know, me and my wife, we had a chat, and she's like, look, you need to go and have a chat with someone, and they suggested some CBT for me, which worked really well. It helped massively, and it was such a simple thing, and it's not for everyone, but for me it was just, and also the fact that I was able to explain to someone how I was feeling about things, and then, like you, just to kind of go, okay, right, and like they didn't see it as strange, and that made me feel so much better.
Something else as well is when you're talking about it, it's really like the Wizard of Oz in the sense that in your mind it's huge and it's terrifying. But then when you talk about it, it's like, it doesn't sound that bad when I say it out loud. It sounds a bit silly when I say it out loud.
Yeah.
And also what you'll find is that there's a lot of people out there who have been through something really similar. I mean, what you're describing sounds really similar to what I went through. Yeah. And I also hear you minimising it.
Yeah.
Because you've not been to someone who's told you what it is and given you, you know, the ability to love yourself enough to accept that you've had something awful happen to you, mate.
Yeah.
You know, you sort of say, you know, when my thoughts run away with me, it's like, you know, come on. Yeah. It's just, everybody has thoughts run away with them. Yours devastated your life, and, you know, you should stand up for yourself and own that, and I feel, and because then you won't accept feeling all right, you'll carry on right through until you feel fucking 100% better. I actually found out I had pure from being interviewed like this.
Yeah.
Because the guy who was interviewing me said, what you've got sounds like what I've got.
Right.
And he described what he had,
Yeah.
and I was like, God, that sounds exactly the same. So then I just Googled Puro, looked into it, and I went, that couldn't be more me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the psychiatrist had said I had post-traumatic stress disorder because it all happened after a sort of weird car accident I had,
Right.
which just really shook me. And so an anxiety disorder based on that was what they went with.
Right.
And what they said to me did make me feel better. But, you know, the wonderful thing about the internet and the wonderful thing about sort of our modern culture is that mental health is a lot less taboo than it was then. Back then it was like, oh, you're mad, you're going to get locked up, no one's ever going to give you a job, and no one's going to want to speak to you, and you're a weirdo and all that.
Take me off to, you know, for speaking so openly and candidly about it, because I know so many people of our age, you know, and younger and older that struggle, and they don't have a voice, and they don't feel like they can talk about it, and it's really important that we do keep talking about it, you know.
I think especially for men, and I would even say like northern working class men of a certain age as well. It's like that's the sort of triumvirate of things. Like men find it more difficult. Working class men find it more difficult than just men, say. Working class men of a certain age find it more difficult than, say, you know, and then working class northern men of a certain age, you know, there's this kind of we're expected to be tough, not expected to like talk about how we feel about things. And, you know, online you'll see like veterans or, you know, people who've been in war situations and they're talking about their PTSD, and because I've had people like that reaching out to me because I talk on stuff like this, and I never think it's woke. I just think they're really, really fucking brave.
Absolutely, mate. Road to Nowhere. The title of that, it's kind of like, is it almost a little bit about what we're talking about, as in, you know, we all know how it ends, you know. So it's like, we're all going that way, so let's all crack on and have a good time.
That's definitely one of the big themes on the album, is the idea that, you know, I'm 55 now and I'm aware that I have less time maybe now than I have already had, you know. Like when I was 16, I was really excited about being in a band because it was all the possibility. Now I'm 55, I'm really excited about being in a band because I'm really specific about what I want to do. It's not a vague idea anymore. You know, there's so much more to do, and time is running out.
You say you're scared to leave me, but it hurts too much to stay. And something in your words gives you away. When I say there's something about you, and you tell me it's okay.
I find I've gone the other way. I feel like, you know, knowing that we've only got so much time left and that nothing really matters, I've kind of just gone into that kind of like, well, nothing really matters, does it?
That's one of the things that my psychiatrist said to me. She said, stop trying to be impressive all the time and just meander, just pootle around. She said, I hate that word, pootle. But she used to say, like, instead of just always like trying to be something and do something, just have
careless.
a day where you're just pootling around the shops, or, you know. And I gave it a go, and it's so liberating just realising that no one gives a fuck. One good thing that come out of it is I don't really get scared of much anymore.
No. Yeah.
When you've had something as terrifying as that, normal life just looks kind of warm and cuddly, you know. What we've been through sounds really, really similar. Not just a bit similar.
Yeah.
It sounds uncannily similar, and I would take heart from the fact that I feel so much better now. You know. Road to Nowhere, it's about a relationship that ended up not going anywhere. You cling on to anything that looks like it might be love, and you try and make it work. And that, in turn, if it's not love, you can turn into a real monster, and your relationship can become really toxic. And so, yeah, Road to Nowhere is really about that.
Fucking hell. Too old for this shit.
It's sort of, in a way, kind of a dedication to a particular relationship in my past that I regret a lot of what happened, but looking back on it, knowing what I know about myself and about life, how it was sort of inevitable and could never have really gone any other way. But I did it wholeheartedly and really, and when it didn't work out, that relationship, it really broke me into pieces, you know. I was really upset about it. So, yeah, it's that vein has always been up, and ever since retread. But I've got more articulate at explaining what I'm trying to do. Whereas before I go, I don't know, it just felt good, it sounded good, or now I sort of feel like I know what I'm doing.
Gold discs on the wall.
Yeah.
What we got?
Yeah, that's some of them, yeah. The one that sort of means the most is the Out of Nothing one there, really.
Yeah.
Because we'd sort of come back from getting dropped and all being skint, and I was walking around my house with a clipboard, like sussing out what everything was worth and flogging it on eBay just to pay the bills. And then in the first week of it going on sale, actually, before it got to the end of the week, it had done like 100,000 copies, so we got a gold disc. And that kind of means more than the platinum one in a way.
It's double platinum.
And the double
now.
platinum one.
Pretty good,
So
isn't
that kind of felt like we'd, you know, come back from like the wilderness.
Yeah, not a lot of people know that Out of Nothing has done more than all the rest of our records all put together.
Yeah. And that must have been
pretty amazing.
well, yeah, the feeling kind of like, you know, because I
So we've been dropped,
Yeah,
we'd had
yeah.
day jobs, and then we
Yeah.
went and did our biggest ever record.
Yeah.
I still kind of always knew it were going to work out
Yeah.
though somehow. I don't know why.
Gravity, right?
Yeah.
So Chris Martin wrote that for Coldplay,
Yeah.
and then decided he didn't fancy it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know what your relationship was like at the time, whether you might have been mates or whatever. But how did that kind of come about? And were you like, yeah, cool, we'll have that, or were you like, well, no, we're not sure about that? What's
We
the story?
all kind of like went, no way, we're not going to come back with a cover. It's a really bad look and it's really uncool, and all those kinds of conversations you have when you're a kind of small time band. And then I think we all went home that night to think about it, and all sort of independently came up with the idea. Well, you know, he's in a massive band, and we love the song. You know, and the reason that he's giving it us is because it sounds too much like us.
Yeah, that's what he said.
So let's give it a go and see what it's like. You know.
Yeah.
It all started, they supported us at Blackpool Tower Ballroom. We did a couple of gigs there. And a mate of mine, the late comedian Sean Hughes, used to be a really good mate of mine, and he played me their demo, and I just thought it was amazing, and just said like we should get these, and we got them. And I never watch support bands usually, because I'm usually trying to get myself into the headspace for doing a gig, and the last thing I need to do is look at a crowd of people. You know, I just need to be thinking about the songs and whatnot. But I went to see him before us, and I just thought they were amazing. I thought he had this really massive bush of curly hair, and he used to sort of dance around like Sting, or he just looked terminally uncool, but yet so out of place, and yet just so amazing all at the same time. It just felt really fresh and other, you know. And my dad basically went and grabbed him from the dressing room, and I'd had no idea he was going to do that. He just went, "Oh, my son's been raving about your band, so you better come and meet him." And so my dad just took it on himself to go to the dressing room and grab him and bring him over. And we just hit it off. We just got on really, really well. And I remember that was back in the day when mobile phones had just come out. So we must have swapped about 8 different numbers. Like, he gave me his mum's, his dad's, his tour managers, his girlfriends, the rest of his band, and I did the same, so we could reach each other. And just stayed in touch pretty much ever since. We're really close. We're really good mates, And then we were on Angelina Jolie's spaceship in, I think, either Shepperton Studios or Pinewood Studios. His wife at the time, Gwyneth, and was doing some pickups with Jude Law for a film called Sky Captain in the World of Tomorrow.
Right.
And we were, Angelina Jolie's got a spaceship in that.
Right.
And we were
in the
sat
film,
on,
yeah?
Yeah. We were sat on, yeah, shouldn't have one in real life. And we were sat on that in the car park in the midday sun, playing each other's songs. And I actually played him Ashes, that early version before the chorus. Oh, no.
Did you say it needs a verse?
No. It was before, no, it wasn't. It was just after the verse, because I played him the verse, because it was the verse that he loved. And he was like, "Oh my God, how do you do it?" And I was like, "Come on, mate, come on." And then he played me Gravity. And I was like, wow, that. So Ashes was going to be on our 4th album. And Gravity, I think, was going to be on their 3rd album. And I was just blown away by it. I just thought, wow, that's, it's up there with Scientist or whatever. It's one of the best things I've ever done. And then fast forward about 3 months or so, he rang me up and he said, "Danny, I've got something to ask you." Because I used to ring him up quite a lot, because he was always in America. So I'd be at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. No one is awake at that time, and so I'd ring him, and it'd always be the middle of the day, and he'd pick up, and but he rang me, and it sounded really serious. He was like, "Danny, I've got to ask you something." I was like, and then Gwyneth was in the background going, "Go on, ask him," and I was like, "What's this?" It's just weird. And then he said, "You love Gravity," and I was like, "Yeah," and he said, "Well, do you want to have it?" And I went through all that stuff that Rich has just been saying about we'd written and recorded the album by then. We had the 10 songs. We knew what the singles were, you know, Ashes, Someday, Glorious Day, Looking As You Are, you know, we had the whole thing worked out. And I was like, well, you know, why don't you want it? It's one of the best things you've ever done. And he said, well, it sounds too much like Embrace. We've tried to do it, and it's just not. It just doesn't feel right for this album. And you love it, and I just don't want to see it on a B-side or given away or whatever. And so I think it's like that thing where when a prisoner goes into a prison cell, if they film you from above, they film like it. They've done this psychological experiment where they filmed 1,000 prisoners from above, and they all go in, sit on the bed, get up, go look at the window, come back, test the door, scratch their head. You know, people almost do identically the same thing in that first minute. While when a global megastar offers you a song, you go through exactly the same thought process. So I went through the thought process of like, but we've already got our album. I don't want it to be overshadowed by, you know, a Coldplay song. So, you know, I'm going to say no. But then it's nice of him to ask. But I'll just let him down gently. But, you know, it's basically no, because, you know. But then, like, this other side, he's a fucking global megastar. You've been dropped. Like, what are you fucking playing at? Like, you know.
Yeah.
So then this voice inside me went, we'll give it a go and we'll see. If it's good, then you know, if it's not, then no, harm no foul. And then I took it to the band, the idea, and I saw them all do that exact same thing in their mind. Like, no fucking way, you know, piss off. Yeah. And then actually no, it's like a massive opportunity, and it's a lovely gesture, and so we did it, and with Youth. And immediately, you know, like everyone was like, "Wow, you know, this is a big song," you know.
What did Chris think of it when he heard it?
He, do you know? I don't think he liked it.
Really?
Because when I played it him, he was like, "Is this the finished version?" I was like, "Yeah." It's like, it sounded a bit. Do you like it? It was like, "Oh no, I love it. It sounded a bit fast." It's like. Well, you know, and then Gwyneth was like, no, this is exactly where it needs to be. I can hear this all over the radio. This is exactly right, Danny. And she was really supportive, but Chris was like, I think it's because it's so different from how he does it, that he just didn't envisage it like that. But yeah, so I mean, it's too nice to say that he's never told me that he doesn't like it, but I think that I think he's proud of it, and I think he likes it, but I think, you know, his version's very different. Yeah. So
it's an amazing song.
Yeah, and they played in Hull last year, and I went over with my wife, and they did Gravity on stage, and and they don't normally do it, and
you were there,
and dedicated it to me and Rick and the band, and. It's pretty amazing. During Out of Nothing, ironically, I thought a lot of the album was too fast, and started ringing him up and going, it's sounding fast.
It's got in your head.
So then we did that with Gravity, literally on that album. So, you know, maybe that's just how you feel as a songwriter when Youth gets hold of your track. He always turns up the BPM. But yeah, and I was sort of really supportive of some of the songs that might have gone by the wayside if I hadn't have been, you know, more supportive of them. Like Green Eyes was one that I really loved, and that might not have made it onto that album if I hadn't have, you know, sort of stuck up for it, because I think a lot of people around him and maybe his band didn't like that as much, and so yeah, there's been stuff like that.
Yeah.
Who's Stop next?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's tricky because there's nothing to start, is there?
Stop.
Well, lyrically.
Yeah, lyrically it's going to be me again.
Yeah.
I mean,
but you play a guitar,
they both came from like little ditties that I've kind of like cooked together on this little keyboard that I've got that's not in here at the moment. So what I tend to do is I tend to go at it for like 10 minutes and then give it a really stupid name. What was that one called?
Stop. Oh, Fair Fucks.
Yeah, maybe. And just send that over, and just send like 10 of those over to him.
And Road to Nowhere was Crumble.
Crumble, was it?
Crumble.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not Crumble.
No.
There's Tractor Factor and Cornflake, Carflick, and Beans on Toast, and silly shit names like that. And then Danny's got an idea to it. Then we kind of get together around at Mickey's, don't we? And sort of
me, you, and
put
me.
it into a sort of a song form,
Right.
so that then when we come in here, we've got something to work at as a band. So we're starting from somewhere rather than from nothing. I think they both, Stop and Road to Nowhere, went through like such dramatic sort of journeys. So the intro to Stop is kind of like the original demo.
Right. Lyrically?
Again, it's about life being really short. It's this idea that like we're all on a rock, spinning at millions of miles an hour, going God knows nowhere, and in 100,000 years we'll all just be a thin layer of calcium.
It's your life, live your life. We don't live forever. Life's too short to mess around. Paralyzed, give me a sign. I can live forever. I will never let you down. But I can't wait. 'Cause while I wait, all my days seem like yesterday. I won't change, 'cause this is fate. And I can see life in front of me, but I just need you to show you how to stop. Stop what you're doing. Stop what you're saying. Before you break my heart, won't you stop? Stop what you're doing. Stop now, 'cause your life's in front of me. I just need you to show you.
Everything you know and love and everything we care about will just be a thin layer of calcium on this rock. And it's that idea, so like, fucking get on with it.
Finish line is in our sight. You're the burning ember, and you burn me to the ground.
It sort of is a little bit of wind beneath my wings a little bit. It sort of doesn't depress me, it emboldens me and makes me want to seize the moment, you know, because life's too short, you know.
Stop what you're doing. Stop what you're saying. Before you break my heart, won't you stop? Stop what you're doing. Stop now, 'cause your life's in front of me. I just need you to show you how. Stop. Stop what you're doing. Stop what you're saying. Before you break my heart, won't you stop? Stop what you're doing. Stop now, 'cause your life's in front of me. I just need you to show you how.
Thanks for your time. Thanks for being so candid and letting us in to your studio and just giving us your time. It's been brilliant and thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Cheers. Yeah.
Can I have a little cuddle?
Yeah.
You know, like the cover of a.
All right, yeah.
Sort of like that.
Yeah.
There's only three of us. But,
Yeah,
you know,
it's not quite the same, but
no.
yeah.
Oh, all right.
Hello.
All right, mate. Who's that? That
Beef
was
eater.
Cockapoo. Popped in. All the best.
Okay.
Let's
Yeah.
break it up now, yeah? It's getting a bit awkward. Thank you. Seriously. Thanks for so much. Thanks, mate. Top man.
Cheers.